How did mountain men sleep during freezing nights in the Rocky Mountains? Relaxing history. Hello guys, today we will know about the high mountain passes and the quiet, frozen nights of the American West in the early 19th century. This narration is meant to help you relax and fall asleep as we drift back to a time of silence and snow. There is a quiet mystery in the way the wind moves through the pines. A small, cold suspense that lingers in the valley before the moon rises over the jagged peaks. We are traveling back to the year 1830. The air is thin and sharp, it carries the scent of cedar and old ice. You are far from the flickering gaslights of the eastern cities. There are no cobbled streets here, only the soft, rhythmic crunch of snow under heavy boots. The mountains are tall and indifferent. They watch as the sun dips below the horizon, casting long, purple shadows across the basin. The mountain man prepares for the coming cold. He knows the night is a living thing. He seeks a place where the wind cannot reach, perhaps a hollow beneath a fallen spruce or a shallow cave carved by ancient waters. The world is becoming gray, the light is fading into a deep, velvet blue. You can feel the stillness settling into your bones. The mountains are waiting for the stars to appear. The shelter is humble and small. It is not a house of brick or wood, but a temporary sanctuary against the frost. He clears away the frozen crust of the earth. He looks for dry ground beneath the heavy boughs of the trees. Every movement is slow, deliberate, saving the warmth that remains in his body. The silence of the high country is absolute. It is a heavy blanket that covers the world. He gathers dead wood, small twigs of pine and thick chunks of seasoned oak. The fire must be small, a tiny, glowing heart in the center of the dark. He strikes the flint against the steel, a rhythmic, metallic clicking in the cold air. A spark catches the dry tinder, a small wisp of smoke rises toward the canopy of stars. The flame is orange and gold, it flickers gently, casting shadows against the snow. His clothing is made of the land itself, thick buckskin trousers and a heavy tunic of elk hide. The leather is worn. It is dark with the grease of many seasons and the smoke of many fires. It smells of wood smoke and pine resin, a scent that belongs to the wilderness. Underneath, he wears a shirt of coarse wool, thick and itchy, but vital for holding the heat. His moccasins are lined with buffalo fur, they are soft and warm against his tired feet. The meal is simple and quiet, there is no table, no silver, no porcelain. He takes a piece of dried venison from his leather pouch. It is tough and salty, requiring slow, patient chewing. He has a small tin cup of water, melted from the clean, white snow. Perhaps there is a bit of parched corn, small, crunchy kernels that taste of the earth. He eats slowly, watching the embers of his fire pulse with a soft, red light. The mountain man knows the value of a heavy robe, a thick, matted skin of a mountain buffalo. The fur is deep and dense, it has protected the great beast through many winters. He lays a ground cloth of oil-treated canvas, keeping the dampness of the earth away from his body. He folds his extra furs to create a narrow nest, a small space where his own breath will keep him warm. He moves with a quiet grace, a man who has learned to live with the cold. The fire is dying down now, the bright flames have transitioned into glowing coals. He banked the fire, covering the red embers with a layer of ash to keep them alive until the dawn. The world outside his small circle of warmth is white and silver, the moon is full and bright above the timberline. The trees crack in the intense cold, a sharp, sudden sound that echoes through the canyon. He does not stir, he is accustomed to the language of the woods. He pulls the buffalo robe over his shoulders, the weight is heavy and comforting. He tucks the edges beneath his body, sealing out the freezing drafts of the night. His head is covered by a cap of fox fur, the soft tail brushing against his cheek. He breathes slowly, his breath forming tiny clouds of steam in the darkness. The air is so cold it feels brittle, but inside the furs, there is a lingering, borrowed warmth. The horses are picketed nearby, their breath rising like ghosts in the moonlight. They stand with their heads low, their coats thick and shaggy with winter hair. They are silent companions in the vastness, their presence a quiet comfort in the lonely high country. The mountain man listens to the sound of their shifting weight, a dull thud against the frozen ground. Everything is moving toward a deep, winter sleep, the bears in their dens, the marmots beneath the rocks. The wind begins to moan through the high passes, a low, mournful sound that speaks of distances we cannot imagine. It brushes against the tops of the pines, sending a fine dusting of snow drifting down like flour. The mountain man stays still, he is a part of the landscape now. His heartbeat slows, matching the slow pulse of the frozen earth. The cold is a heavy hand, pressing down on the world, silencing the streams and the birds. He thinks of the beaver ponds, now locked beneath feet of clear, black ice. He thinks of the traps set in the icy water, waiting for the morning light. The work is hard, the work is constant, but now, it is time for rest. The day's labor of trekking through deep drifts is over. The weight of the heavy pack is gone from his shoulders. There is only the darkness, and the soft, repetitive sound of his own breathing. The stars are bright and cold, like chips of ice scattered across a black floor. They do not twinkle, they shine with a steady, piercing light that illuminates the snowy peaks. The peaks look like giants sleeping under white sheets, their jagged edges softened by the moonlight. The valley is a bowl of shadows, deep and still and ancient. There is no clock to tick away the seconds, only the slow rotation of the stars. The mountain man dreams of the summer rendezvous, of green grass and warm winds. He dreams of the smell of roasting buffalo ribs, and the sound of many voices laughing by a river. But those thoughts are far away, like a memory of another life. In the present, there is only the frost, the way it feathers across the edges of his blankets. He pulls the robe tighter, feeling the coarse hair against his chin. The nights are long in the high country, 14 hours of darkness that must be endured. He does not fight the dark, he sinks into it. He learns to find peace in the absence of light, a quiet meditation on the nature of the mountain. The snow falls occasionally, a soft, hushing sound as it piles against his shelter. It acts as insulation, a white wall that keeps the biting wind at bay. He is an ordinary man in an extraordinary place. A hunter, a trapper, a wanderer. His tools are few, a sharp knife, a heavy rifle, a warm blanket. His wealth is measured in pelts and in the strength of his own limbs. In the city, men sleep in beds of goose feathers, behind doors of heavy oak. Here, there is only the skin of an animal and the shelter of a tree. Yet, the sleep is deep, the sleep is earned. The embers in the fire pit fade from red to gray, the heat dissipates into the freezing air. The cold inches closer, tapping at the edges of his furs. He shifts slightly, finding a pocket of warmth that remains. The world is a study in blue and white, the shadows of the pine stretch long across the drifts. Nothing moves, the entire range is held in a crystalline grip. As the hours pass, the constellation of the hunter moves across the sky. The mountain man remains tucked away, a small spark of life in a frozen wilderness. He is safe in his nest of fur, protected by his knowledge of the land. The mountains do not sleep, they only wait. And as you listen to the silence of the high peaks, your own eyes grow heavy, your own breath becomes slow and rhythmic. The snow continues to fall, softly, silently, covering the tracks of the day. The world is being made new and clean, a blank page for the morning sun. The mountain man is warm, the mountain man is still, and the night goes on, and on, and on, in a perfect, frozen peace. The first light over the high peaks. Hello guys, today we will know about the slow awakening of the mountain camp, as the deep blue of the night begins to pale into a soft, cold gray. This narration is designed to help you sink further into your blankets, finding a heavy, peaceful rest as the world of the 1830s slowly stirs. The transition from night to day in the high Rockies is a quiet process, a gradual unveiling of the world that happens in complete, frozen silence. The stars are still visible, but they have lost their sharp, icy glitter. They are fading now, like dying embers in a great, dark hearth. The mountain man feels the weight of the buffalo robe. It is heavy and stiff with the frost that has settled from his own breath during the long night. He does not move quickly. To move quickly is to invite the biting air into his nest of warmth. He lies still for a long moment, listening to the world. There is no sound of birds yet. The air is too cold for song. There is only the low, distant groan of the ice on a nearby lake, a deep, vibrating sound that travels through the ground. The trees are coated in rime, every needle of the pines is encased in a delicate sheath of white crystal. The world looks as if it has been carved from salt, or white marble, motionless and cold. He slowly reaches one hand out from beneath the fur. The air hits his skin like a physical weight. It is a sharp, stinging cold that makes the lungs ache if breathed too deeply. He finds the edge of the ash-covered fire pit, his fingers searching for the slight lingering warmth of the buried coals. He moves the gray ash aside with a small stick, moving slowly, rhythmically, until a faint, orange glow appears in the darkness. He adds a few shreds of dry cedar bark, then tiny slivers of pine. He blows on the spark, a soft, steady breath that coaxes the fire back to life. The smoke rises straight and thin, a blue ribbon climbing toward the fading stars. The small flame flickers, casting a weak, yellow light against the surrounding snow. It is the only light for miles, a tiny point of defiance in the vast, shadow-filled basin. He sits up slowly, pulling the buffalo robe around his shoulders like a heavy cloak. His movements are stiff, his joints feeling the weight of the freezing night. He reaches for his moccasins, they are cold and firm. He must warm them near the growing fire before he can slide his feet inside. He holds them near the heat, watching the steam rise as the frost melts away from the leather. The horizon to the east is beginning to turn a pale, watery yellow, then a soft, dusty rose. The jagged silhouettes of the peaks become sharper, standing out against the brightening sky. The mountain man takes his small tin pot, he fills it with clean, powdery snow, pressing it down with his palm. He sets it on a flat stone near the flames, waiting for the snow to shrink and turn into water. He watches the water come to a low simmer. There are no bubbles, just a quiet steam rising into the air. He adds a few dried leaves of mountain tea, or perhaps just drinks the water plain and hot. The heat of the tin cup against his hands is a great comfort, it travels up his arms and into his chest. He sips slowly, looking out over the valley as the first ray of sun hits the very tip of the highest peak. The sun does not bring warmth yet, it only brings color. The white snow turns to gold, then a brilliant, blinding orange. The shadows in the valleys remain deep and blue, clinging to the ground as if they are afraid of the light. The mountain man stands, his tall frame cast in a long shadow across the clearing. He shakes out his furs, the frost falling away like diamond dust. He checks his rifle, the cold metal of the barrel is slick with condensation. He wipes it carefully with a piece of greased buckskin, preserving the tool that ensures his survival. His movements are a ritual, performed 1,000 times in 1,000 different camps. There is no hurry, the mountains do not reward haste. There is only the steady, patient pace of a man who lives by the sun and the seasons. The horses begin to stir, shaking their manes and sending a spray of ice crystals into the air. They whinny softly, a low, rattling sound in their chests. He walks to them, his boots making a dull, rhythmic thud in the deep drifts. He rubs their noses, feeling the warmth of their breath against his skin. He speaks to them in a low, monotonous murmur, a quiet conversation between companions in a lonely land. He begins to pack his few belongings, the blankets are rolled tight and secured with leather thongs. The tin pot is rinsed with a handful of snow and tucked away. The fire is extinguished, the black char covered over with fresh white snow until no trace remains. He leaves the campsite as he found it, a place of silence and peace. The day is beginning, but it is a quiet day. There is the long walk ahead, the checking of the traps, the navigation of the high ridges. He shoulders his pack, the straps creaking against his leather tunic. He takes one last look at the golden peaks, then turns toward the shadows of the timberline. He moves with a slow, swinging gait, a steady rhythm that he can maintain for hours. The world is wide and empty, and very, very still. The only sound is the wind, and the soft, repetitive crunch of his footsteps. As he disappears into the trees, the silence of the mountain closes in behind him, a heavy, white blanket of peace. You feel your own breath slowing, matching the pace of the mountain man. As you drift deeper into the quiet, deeper into the cold, beautiful stillness of the high country. Everything is soft, everything is gray and gold, everything is resting. The rhythmic work of the frozen stream. Hello guys, today we will know about the quiet work of the mid-afternoon, as the sun begins its slow, inevitable descent toward the jagged western ridges. The air is still biting, but the light has a golden, honey-like quality that softens the harsh edges of the rock and ice. This narration is here to guide you into a deeper state of relaxation, letting the repetitive, gentle sounds of the wilderness carry you toward sleep. The mountain man moves along the bank of a winding stream, a narrow ribbon of water that refused to freeze completely because of its swift, dancing current. The edges are built up with thick shelves of white ice, translucent and smooth like polished glass. He walks with a deliberate care, placing each foot precisely to avoid the snapping of a dry twig or the crunch of unstable snow. His world is one of constant observation, a slow, quiet study of the water's edge. He looks for the signs, the small, subtle clues left by the beaver. He sees a notched willow branch, a muddy slide partially obscured by frost, a collection of peeled sticks floating in a quiet eddy. These are the markers of a hidden life. He kneels by the bank, his heavy buckskin trousers protecting his knees from the frozen mud. The world is so quiet you can hear the tiny, metallic tinkling of ice fragments as they break away and float downstream. He reaches into his leather pack and retrieves a heavy iron trap. Its metal is dark and cold, smelling of old water and grease. He moves with a steady, monotonous rhythm, a sequence of actions practiced over many winters. He clears a small space in the freezing muck beneath the water's surface, his hands becoming numb as they dip into the flow. He does not flinch from the cold, he accepts it as a constant companion. He sets the trap with a slow, powerful squeeze, the iron jaws opening wide and resting in the silt. Every movement is fluid, every movement is quiet. He secures the long chain to a stout pole driven deep into the bed of the stream, ensuring it is firm and unyielding. The water flows over his wrists, a cold, wet sleeve that he ignores. He is focused on the balance, the placement, the silence. From a small, carved wooden vial, he takes a drop of castoreum, a pungent, earthy scent that lingers in the cold air like a memory. He places it on the end of a willow twig, a tiny lure that will draw the curious toward the trap. He positions the twig just so, a delicate, intentional arrangement in a world of wild things. He rises slowly, his joints making a soft, dry sound as he straightens his tall frame. He repeats this process at the next pool, and the one after that. It is a slow, rhythmic progression through the valley. The sun is lower now, the gold turning to a deep, burnt orange. The shadows of the cottonwood stretch across the ice, long, blue fingers that point toward the coming night. The mountain man's breath is a steady, white plume, rising and disappearing in the thin air. He stops to adjust his pack. The leather straps are worn smooth and dark where they rest against his shoulders. His clothing is layered, wool against skin, then buckskin, then the heavy fur. He is a creature of layers, a man built to withstand the pressure of the elements. He feels the weight of the day, a comfortable, tired ache in his muscles that signals the approach of rest. The stream gurgles softly, a repetitive, hushing sound that mimics the sound of a distant rain. It is the only voice in the canyon. A liquid murmur beneath a ceiling of ice. The mountain man listens, his head tilted slightly, catching the rhythm of the water. He finds a sense of peace in the repetition, in the knowledge that the cycle of work and rest remains unchanged by the passing of years. He finds a small, flat rock and sits for a moment, watching the light play upon the ripples. He takes a piece of hardtack from his pocket, a simple, dry biscuit made of flour and water. He chews it slowly. The sound loud in his own ears amidst the absolute silence of the woods. It is a humble meal, but it provides the fuel for the final walk back to camp. The sky is transitioning again, the orange fading into a soft, bruised purple. The high peaks are glowing with a final, ethereal pink light, a phenomenon the mountain men call the alpenglow. It is a fleeting, beautiful moment before the gray returns. He watches it with a steady gaze, his eyes reflecting the changing colors of the sky. He is a man of few words, finding his conversation in the movement of the clouds and the shifting of the light. The air grows noticeably colder as the sun slips behind the ridge, the temperature dropping in a sudden, sharp plunge. He stands and brushes the snow from his furs, ready to find his shelter once more. The work of the day is done, the traps are set, the mountain is preparing for another long, frozen night. He begins the trek back, his footsteps rhythmic and heavy, a slow beat in the heart of the wilderness. He passes a thicket of willow. where the branches are heavy with the weight of the frost. They lean over the path, creating a white tunnel that he moves through with a quiet grace. The world is closing in, the horizon shrinking as the darkness gathers in the low places. He does not rush, he knows the way by the feel of the land and the scent of the pines. His mind is quiet, his thoughts as still as the frozen pools he leaves behind. There is no anxiety, no worry. Only the steady, physical presence of the mountain. He thinks of the small fire he will build, the warmth of the buffalo robe, the deep, dreamless sleep that awaits him. The silence of the high country is a gift, a heavy, soothing blanket that he pulls around his soul. The first star appears, a lone, silver point in the darkening east. It is a signal that the day has truly ended. The mountain man reaches his small clearing, the ashes of his morning fire a pale circle on the ground. He begins the process of building his night, the gathering of wood, the striking of the flint, the slow, rhythmic dance with the cold. As you listen to the crackle of the imaginary flame, and the distant, hushing sound of the mountain wind, you feel your own body becoming heavy. Your limbs are warm, your breath is slow, and the world of the 1830s is fading into the soft, gray mist of sleep. The mountains are watching, the stream is flowing, and all is quiet, all is still. The deep silence of the midnight snow. Hello guys, today we will know about the profound and heavy stillness of the high mountains in the deepest part of the night, as a soft, relentless snow begins to fall over the silent camp. This narration is designed to help you drift into a deep, restorative slumber, as the world outside becomes a vast, white void of peace and quiet. The hour is late, perhaps the middle of the night, and the mountain man is deep within his nest of furs. Outside the heavy buffalo robe, the air has turned a deep, velvet black. The stars have been swallowed by a thick ceiling of clouds, clouds that hang low and heavy over the jagged peaks. There is no moon now, only a darkness so thick it feels like a physical weight against the mountainside. The snow begins not with a storm, but with a whisper, a soft, hushing sound that is almost felt rather than heard. The first flakes are large and wet, drifting down through the branches of the spruce trees with a gentle, repetitive patter. They land on the frozen crust of the earth, on the extinguished embers of the fire, on the edges of the man's leather pack. Each flake adds a tiny, microscopic layer of insulation to the world. The mountain man stirs only slightly, a slow, rhythmic shift beneath the heavy hides. He feels the subtle change in the air. The way the extreme, brittle cold of the evening has softened into a damp, heavy chill. The snow acts as a blanket, a white muffling that silences the cracking of the trees and the moaning of the wind. The world is being wrapped in cotton, layer by layer, inch by inch. He listens to the silence, a silence so absolute that he can hear the slow, steady thrum of his own heart. The horses stand motionless under the shelter of a thick grove, their backs already white with a dusting of powder. They do not move, they do not whinny, they simply exist in the quiet. The snow piles up against the side of his shelter, building a natural wall of white that seals in the warmth of his breath. Inside the firs, it is dark and warm, a small, private world. The scent is of old leather, dry grass, and the faint, lingering ghost of wood smoke. There is no sound of the stream now. The snow has muffled its voice, turning the liquid gurgle into a muffled, distant vibration. The mountain man is a part of the earth, a small, warm stone buried beneath a sea of white. The snow falls faster now, a steady, vertical descent in the windless night. It covers the tracks of the wolves, it covers the paths of the deer, it erases the boundaries between the land and the sky. Everything is becoming one, a single, unified landscape of white and shadow. The trees bow their heads under the increasing weight, their branches sagging slowly, gracefully, toward the ground. The mountain man finds a deep comfort in this isolation. There are no clocks to measure the passing hours, no voices to interrupt the meditation of the night. There is only the slow, rhythmic accumulation of the flakes. He thinks of nothing, he simply feels the heavy, peaceful pressure of the darkness. His mind is as clear and still as a frozen pool, reflecting nothing but the quiet. The cold is still there, but it is a distant thing now, kept at bay by the thickness of the buffalo hide and the rising wall of snow. He is safe, he is hidden, he is at rest. The mountains are a vast, silent cathedral, and the falling snow is a quiet prayer that never ends. He breathes in the scent of the damp earth and the cold fur, and he sinks further into the softness of his bed. The night stretches out, long and white and infinite. There is no hurry for the dawn, the sun is a distant memory that has no place in this midnight world. There is only the now, the soft sound of his own breathing, the gentle weight of the blankets, and the tireless, hushing fall of the snow. As you listen to the imagined silence of the Rocky Mountains, you feel your own body sinking into the mattress. The weight of your blankets feels like the heavy buffalo robe, protecting you, keeping you warm. The world outside your window is fading away, replaced by the soft, white mist of the high country. You are safe, you are still, you are falling into the deep, white quiet of the winter night. The snow continues to fall, softly, rhythmically, forever. The waking world of white. Hello guys, today we will know about the moment the mountain man opens his eyes to a world that has been transformed by the night, a world where the air is thick with a heavy, muffled silence. This narration is crafted to lead you into the deepest part of your rest, as we imagine the slow, peaceful dawn in a land buried deep beneath the snow. He wakes not to a sound, but to the absence of it. The silence is so profound it feels like a physical weight pressing against the buffalo robes. He opens his eyes and sees only a dim, pearly light filtering through the gaps in his shelter. The snow has piled high during the night. It has banked against the sides of his lean-to, creating a thick, white wall that seals him away from the wind. The air inside is still, and carries the faint, cold scent of the deep drifts. He moves slowly, a long, rhythmic stretch that makes the heavy furs creak. He reaches out a hand and pushes against the snow that has gathered at the entrance. It is light and powdery, falling away with a soft, hushing sound. As he clears a small opening, the world outside is revealed. It is a landscape of pure, blinding white. The trees are no longer green or brown, they are tall, stooped giants draped in heavy white cloaks. The sun is rising, but it is a pale, silver orb hanging behind a thin veil of mist. Its light does not cut through the air, it is diffused, scattered by the billions of tiny ice crystals floating in the sky. There are no shadows yet, only a soft, flat glow that makes it difficult to see where the earth ends and the sky begins. The mountains have lost their sharp edges, they are rounded and soft, like giant clouds that have fallen to the earth. He steps out into the powder, and he sinks to his waist. The sensation is like walking through a sea of flour, a slow, resisting pressure that requires a steady, patient effort. Every movement is a deliberate choice, a rhythmic dance with the elements. He looks back at his camp, and sees only a small, dark hollow in a vast, undulating field of white. His fire pit is gone, buried beneath feet of fresh snow, and he smiles at the perfect, untouched beauty of it. The horses are standing nearby, they look like mounds of snow themselves, their breath rising in thick, slow clouds. They shake their heads, sending a spray of white powder into the air that catches the pale sunlight like falling diamonds. The mountain man speaks to them, a low, monotonous hum that carries no further than a few feet in the muffled air. The world is so quiet that even the sound of his own pulse seems loud in his ears. He begins to navigate the drifts, his goal is the high ridge where the wind might have blown the snow thinner. He moves with a slow, swinging gait, his snowshoes making a repetitive shush-shush sound against the crust. He is not in a hurry, time has no meaning in a world buried this deep. He stops often to breathe, watching the way the mist clings to the valleys. And the way the trees seem to be sleeping under their heavy burdens. The silence is his companion, a heavy, soothing presence that fills the entire range. There are no birds, no scurrying animals, only the windless, frozen peace of the high country. He feels a sense of profound solitude, a quiet joy in being the only witness to this white transformation. The mountains are a vast, silent room, and he is a guest in their winter sanctuary. As you imagine the mountain man moving through the deep, soft powder, you feel your own limbs becoming heavy and still. Your bed is your shelter, the blankets are your buffalo robes, and the quiet of the room is the silence of the high peaks. The world outside is far away, and you are drifting, sinking, into the soft, white peace of the morning. The light is pale, the snow is deep, and the mountain is very, very still. The final fire and the return of the stars. Hello guys, today we will know about the slow, weary return to the mountain camp, as the long day of trekking through the deep powder comes to a quiet end. This narration is intended to help you surrender to sleep, feeling the heavy, satisfying exhaustion that comes at the end of a long journey through the cold. The air is turning a deep, royal blue once more, and the shadows are beginning to pool in the hollows of the snow. The mountain man moves with a slow, rhythmic fatigue. His legs heavy from the labor of breaking trail through the drifts. Each step is a measured effort, a steady, monotonous movement that has defined his entire afternoon. He carries the weight of his gear and the silence of the woods on his shoulders. The world is transitioning, the pale, muffled sun has slipped behind the high crags, and the temperature is beginning its rapid, nightly descent. He reaches his small clearing, the place where he slept the night before. It is a familiar sanctuary, a small circle of ground that belongs to him for this one moment in time. He drops his pack with a dull, heavy thud into the snow, the sound swallowed instantly by the surrounding trees. He stands for a moment, his breath coming in slow, deep plumes, watching the first faint star appear in the darkening sky. The horses are already waiting near the shelter, they recognize the routine of the evening. He moves to them first. His hands slow and gentle as he brushes the frost from their manes. He speaks to them in a low, monotonous murmur, a quiet ritual of gratitude for their strength. There is no haste in his movements, he knows that the fire will come, and the warmth will come, but first, there is the work of the camp. He gathers his wood, choosing the dry, dead branches of a fallen cedar that have been protected from the snow. He snaps them into smaller pieces, a rhythmic crack, crack. Crack that echoes softly against the frozen pines. He clears a small circle in the snow, reaching the frozen earth beneath. He lays the tinder with a patient hand, his fingers moving with a grace that only years of survival can teach. The strike of the flint is a sharp, metallic spark in the gathering gloom. He watches the tiny orange glow catch the cedar bark, a small, flickering heartbeat in the center of the dark. He feeds it slowly, twig by twig, until a steady, golden flame begins to climb toward the branches above. The heat is a sudden, miraculous gift. It touches his face and his hands, drawing the deep chill out of his skin. He sets his tin pot over the flames, the snow inside melting with a soft, hissing sound. He watches the steam rise, a white ghost dancing in the orange light. His meal tonight is simple, a few strips of dried meat warmed near the coals, and a cup of hot, clear water. He eats with a slow, deliberate focus, savoring the warmth as it spreads through his chest. The silence of the mountain is no longer cold, it is a comforting companion. He prepares his bedroll for the final time, shaking out the buffalo robes and laying them over the dry branches of his shelter. He pulls the heavy hides around him, feeling the familiar weight and the scent of the wilderness. The fire is dying down to a bed of glowing red embers. A soft, pulsing light that reflects in the dark metal of his rifle. He lies back, his head resting on his pack, and looks up at the sky. The clouds have cleared, and the stars are returning in their thousands. They are brilliant and cold, silver pinpricks of light that seem to hum in the silent air. He watches the great constellations move in their slow, eternal circles. He feels very small beneath the vastness of the heavens, and very much at peace. The mountains are dark shapes against the starlight, guardians of the frozen world. His breathing becomes slow and shallow, matching the quiet rhythm of the night. The fire is now just a memory of warmth, a few sparks dancing occasionally in the breeze. The cold is pressing in, but it cannot reach him beneath the thick, matted fur of the buffalo. He is drifting, his thoughts dissolving into the darkness, his spirit merging with the stillness of the high peaks. The mountain man is asleep, and the mountain sleeps with him. The snow is silent, the stars are bright, and the world is held in a perfect, frozen embrace. You are safe, you are warm.